little way in from the edge. And as I'm doing it, I can see a shiny line appearing, which is, you need to get the light in the right place that you can.
Are you going along just in one long straight line at the moment?
I'm just going along in one long straight line. Again, I've got the blade supported, the tang supported on this leg at this point, blade supported on this knee. Nice steady hammer strokes. The finger on the back of the blade, fingers are coming right round to the point where at least one finger is steady on the back of the anvil, such that I've got complete support of the position of the blade on the anvil.
Are you in the middle of that bevel, about a couple of mil in?
So, yeah, the bit of the blade that I'm resting currently is underneath where I'm doing the line, so there's a little bit of a gap in the edge on this line. And if I come off from that point, you can start to hear that, and if I don't support with my knee, again I start to get rattly noises if it's not flat on the anvil. So there's a lot you can hear about exactly where it is you're hitting, as well as being able to see that shiny line appearing. Ooh.
You're not just sitting up and down, you're sort of sliding it a bit as well to the side, is that right?
I'm kind of doing little circles with my hammer, which is partly so that I can see where my shiny line is for more of my stroke, and it's one of my ways of getting a very steady, repetitive hammer cycle. It is possible, and it's quite good when peening further back in particular, to just be hitting dead without any movement. And as one gets towards the front of the blade, one might want to.
Very obvious on that side, isn't it? The shininess.
It's
Where he's been. It's a really obvious thing, isn't it?
So now I'm starting a second line closer into the edge. I'm actually going to end up doing 4 lines on this. That's coming along in there. I don't want to go as long as far as the first one, so you can see the portion. And so there, particularly when I start in the middle of the blade rather than at the edge, I often find that I end up experimenting a bit with the position in order to get the line in the right place, which I do much less. If I'm doing the whole line as one go, then I've kind of got everything positioned right to keep it steady, and the only place I'm finding where it is at the beginning.
But we wouldn't be doing this for a long time until we've used that thing, would we?
It depends. There are some people who are quite familiar with working with hand tools who can go straight into this. Otherwise, yeah, I would recommend starting with the anvil, practicing that a bit, and then maybe starting with the edge peening by this method as the first thing that you do on the freehand peening, because you can make a huge difference to how well peened you can get your blade by using the jig and then just peening the edge.
That's
the very edge.
Just, yeah, the very edge, which we've not got to yet, because we've managed to do a 4-line peen, which is more than is necessary for the average peen. The average peen I would do would be 3 lines.
How often do you do peening to a blade?
Every few hours of mowing. It makes a significant difference, I find. The better you get at it, the more you can tell the difference when you've done it.
Yeah.
And it may be you know, with a short blade, it only takes 15 minutes to peen it. If you've got it so that it's in a clean condition when you're coming out from the mowing, you don't have to do much cleaning of it. You can just go and peen it. It takes maybe 15-20 minutes to peen a blade. Within a couple of hours mowing, you've saved that time because you've mowed so much more grass without straining yourself, without having to put loads of effort in.
If you were mowing all day, would you peen just in the evening, say, or once a day, or more often?
If I was mowing more than 3 or 4 hours in a day, I would do a intermediate peen. So I'd always start mowing early in the morning, as early as possible, and mow for a few hours. Then, you know, you'd maybe have a late breakfast or a second breakfast, and you'd maybe touch up with an edge peen or a couple of lines of peening. That doesn't take too long. Then you go back out, do some more mowing till it's getting too hot and the dew's coming off the grass. Then you're into dealing with that grass for most of the rest of the day. But at some point during that time, you're going to peen the blade ready for the next day's mowing, if that's what you're going to do.
So is it best to cut it when it's dewy then?
It is best to cut the grass early in the morning when it's dewy. The second best time to cut the grass is in the last light of the day.
Is that because the extra weight helps, the moisture?
No, it's because when it's hot and sunny, the sap pressure inside the grass is holding the grass so much stiffer that you actually expend more effort on cutting it.
Interestingly, I think the biodynamic people recommend cutting hay later than that for the quality of the hay.
Later in the day?
Yeah.
That's why I thought you were in the dark. Because you said in the dusk. I was thinking, right.
In the evening?
Yeah, not first thing in the morning, yeah. Or from lunchtime, I think.
Presumably in the right moon phase as well.
Having done
Yeah, descending moon.
the further back lines, I'm left with having made quite a lot of the blade quite shiny, and there's just less than 1 millimetre of the blade at the edge, which I haven't made shiny with my hammer strokes. And in order to peen the very edge of the blade, now I won't rub it all out because I want you to be able to see this when I pass it around in a minute. I would take one of these black blocks and you can just
Ladies and gentlemen,
brush it out
Steve
again.
is now starting snaff making. If anybody's interested in the snaff making over there, it's in the big blue tent.
And then I've got back to the kind of matte, clean, shiny surface I had to start with, and then I can go to peening the very edge of the blade.
Why have you bothered to do that with the black? Yes, what's...
So because
so
I've put so many shiny marks on there already, so that I can see that I'm just getting the very edge of the blade, it is useful to just clean all that off again. It then means you can really concentrate on getting the very edge, where you're trying to make sure that you're not leaving anything untouched by the hammer beyond the edge. So here you're using the edge for guidance. You've got the blade to the point where the edge is really sitting on the top of the anvil, and you're sharing the hammer blow between the blade and the anvil so that you're actually squashing the metal as close to a point as you possibly can.
Have you changed the angle you're holding at to maintain that bevel that was drawn on the first drawing? Or does that automatically happen because you've got to round it out?
That happens fairly automatically. I mean, one of the things with all things like this, the tool teaches you, and so you're watching that you're maintaining a similar amount of thing, that you're not curling it over, that you're not leaving it too straight. It's reasonably easy on an anvil to, you know, just be putting it or holding it too far off the edge and to make it so that it curls over. That's always one of the things that you can end up doing when you're peening. So you've got to watch that the job you're doing is actually doing the job you want it to do. So as I'm doing this, I can actually physically see on this last line that the metal is extending outwards by a fraction of a millimetre. as I thin out this very edge portion. So I'll pass this round. You can see in here hammer strokes, in here a general area where I've peened where there's layers of hammer strokes overlapping, section where I've burred it off, and a section where I've peened the very edge. And I've peened it to a point where there's less of a shiny line than there is here, but there's still some. There would still be some honing required to get that really sharp.